For more than 30 years now, since 1995, the First Church in Sterling has been showing up in La Romana, Dominican Republic, every year, not as saviors, but as partners in love. Over that time, nearly 1,000 missionaries have gone, and what started as one team has multiplied into many, 3 hospital teams, other church teams, countless vocations, lives shaped on both sides of the water. People from our community and from the Dominican Republic have gone on to become nurses, doctors, lab techs, social workers, healers in their own right. And together, we have carried thousands of pounds of medicine and hundreds of thousands of pounds of clothing into places where they were needed most. But this trip reminds us that the story is still being written. This year in February, we cared for about 750 patients. We even performed a surgery, a surprise surgery in a sugarcane village called a Batey. We fed an entire community on Monday and did food distribution to 6 villages. We built a wall for a school, did electrical work in a hospital, fixed plumbing systems, and dewormed at least 800 children. We sat with 100 young women and talked about their bodies, their dignities, and their futures through our Days for Girls program. And in the midst of all of it, we prayed, we sang, we laughed, we made friends who now feel like family. And because this trip has never only been about what we bring, it has always been about what God is building between us. A community where healing flows in every direction, where dignity is restored, not handed out, where love crosses every border we thought could divide us. And the truth is, we don't come home the same. We come home changed, more open, more connected, more convinced than ever that when we show up with open hands and willing hearts, God is already there, waiting to meet us in the faces of one another. So this is what we celebrate today on our La Romana Sunday. I want you to please rise if you came to La Romana this year. Please rise and just be recognized, our mission team. These are some of the 31 people who we brought. And then please rise if you've been to La Romana before. Wonderful. Great. So these are some of the many representatives of our ministries in the Dominican Republic. We are so proud that we have been serving in this capacity for so many years. Okay, you may be seated. Yes.
My sister and I are daughters of an immigrant who constantly reminds us that our people don't need help, we don't need saving, and we certainly don't need other people's charity. Because of this, coming on the trip to La Romana was something that I seriously avoided facing. I had and still have many thoughts of ambivalence, and I believe that the work of many mission trips were riddled with Christian nationalist values, and I would even go as far as to call a lot of mission trips evil. So when I arrived in the DR, I was really only looking forward to spending time with my friends, and certainly not what I felt was a great act of betrayal. As the week continued, the teenagers met another group of kids that were staying at the same hostel from Tennessee. They were nice, and me and Marin even adopted a guy who we labeled a true New Englander because of his rich music taste. Conversation grew longer, and we started to weigh in on our thoughts on heavier topics: abortion, immigration, Christian nationalism. Name a controversial topic, it was pretty much covered. And as you can imagine, we were on completely opposite sides of each topic. I mean, they did come from a megachurch in Tennessee. But one specific conversation ended with me asking one of the boys, if any of the people that you are serving right now came to your house in the United States begging for help, would you ask for their papers first? To which he answered yes. My ambivalence only grew as I felt as though I was surrounded by the very people I labeled evil before this trip. I felt angry and confused how any person could claim something so incredibly ignorant and still say they walk in the name of Jesus Christ. Along with this anger, I also felt affirmed in the people I chose to represent. I felt trust in the church that I call home, and I was grateful that I was raised by my justice-craving mother who never settles for anything but the truth, and my proud father who reminds me of the strength that I carry. I was affirmed that the true walk of Jesus lies in love and acceptance, but also that hateful rhetoric constructs hateful children. And I was able to separate myself and the church from what I once believed were at the core of mission trips. The week continued, and I still blossomed many friendships and relationships with the Dominicans that worked with us, the Haitians we treated, the teenagers on the trip, and even the kids from Tennessee. What I once had labeled evil now became something that I could see as godly. I don't label the teenagers from Tennessee as evil when evil is malicious intent. Evil is the bad outweighing the good. War is evil. Greed is evil. Denying your neighbor communion based on their citizenship, race, sexuality, or religion is evil. I know the First Church, and I know the values I have been called upon to represent and teach by Jesus in my mom's ministry. I refuse to deem this trip evil anymore. It expanded my perspective and proved to me that the unconditional love that Jesus serves and I crave to serve.
My first trip to La Romana was my first experience on a mission trip. When people ask me how it was, I struggle to find the words. The truth is, it was something deeper than anything I've ever experienced, something that lives in both awe and heartbreak. What I encountered in La Romana changed me. I was in awe of the people, their love, their faith, their strength, and their community. There was a deep sense of caring for one another that felt so pure. At the same time, I felt a profound sadness. I saw illness that in the United States we treat almost without thinking, yet here they carry a weight of uncertainty and fear. I saw desperation in the eyes of parents trying to care for their children without the resources that they needed. A heartbreak moment that will stay with me forever was a 2-year-old boy who was brought to us with severe burns covering 50% of his legs. In the United States, he would have had to been admitted to the hospital. But here, he was sitting in front of me, and I was his only best chance. When I first saw him, my heart dropped. I felt overwhelmed, like this was more than I could handle. I asked my interpreter and friend, Frenzy, for a moment, and I tried to gather myself, recalling what I had learned years ago in school. And then I prayed, and I asked God to guide me, to give me strength and knowledge to help this baby. The hardest part wasn't just his injuries, but it was his mother's eyes. The desperation, the hope, and the trust that she placed in me was overwhelming. That night, everything hit me. I was overwhelmed with emotion, replaying the day in my mind, and even now I pray for that little boy every day, and I know I will carry him in my heart forever. But I am so grateful for my team and for the hugs and support that I received that evening during that heartbreaking moment. Another moment that left me an impact on me was an awe moment where a 10-year-old girl brought her 2-year-old sister to the clinic. The baby had an ear infection, something we treat simple at home. But that struck me was the strength of that 10-year-old girl. She had come on her own, knowing that we would be there. As I explained the medication, the antibiotics, and how to manage her sister's pain, she listened very carefully. And when I asked her to repeat the instructions I had given her, she did it perfectly. Her determination was beyond her years. She was already a caregiver, shaped by necessity, and both was inspiring and heartbreaking. And then there was our team, especially the teenagers. They are loving, they're hardworking, they're eager to learn, and they're completely dedicated. Their joy and their compassion and their willingness to serve was nothing short of inspirational. As a mother, watching my own son, Jack, on this trip was the greatest gift of my life. I saw him work hard, I saw him care deeply, and truly witness the world beyond himself. This experience has changed him. He has become somebody who steps forward to help and somebody who chooses to act rather than stand by. To have this experience with my son and my husband with such an incredible team is something I will hold close forever. I am grateful for you, Robin, for encouraging me to go, for seeing something in me that I didn't fully see. This trip stretched me, it humbled me, and it changed me. And even now, when people ask me how it was, I still say the same thing. I really just can't put it into words. but I carry it with me in my heart and in my work and the way I see the world every single day.
Robin asked us to write something, and she said, no more than 500 words. And I was like, there's no way. It's not possible. Am I correct? It's not possible. As soon as you start writing, you realize that I wrote 800 words. You're like, oh. So, anyway.
We're not counting.
I get an A, though, right?
Yeah.
All right. Overachiever. This was my first year, my first time joining the mission team. And even though I had many telling me what it was like, including me, my dear wife who is working today, I don't think any words could truly describe the experience. Leading up to a trip, we had many meetings, fundraisers, and other group tasks, such as packing day. Ooh. And now, all that is fun and great, but the trip itself is truly where the moment occurs. The moment we left was overwhelming at times, but once we finally got to the gate at the airport, you could see everyone was excited. I was excited to be doing something different, to be leaving the cold of New England and enjoying the island weather. I was also left in wonder as to what I would be doing if I would be able to make a difference. The next couple of days, we prepared for the week ahead of us, sorted clothing, counted pills, divided items up for the day of the week. I personally love this part of the trip. As hectic as it can be, this is where I thrive. I immediately jumped in to help wherever I could. I didn't stay in my team, sorry, Robin. You could feel the group improving itself, forming closer bonds, creating experiences. Sunday morning, we visited a church in one of the batets. This was my first time in a battet, and I could not bring myself to any words to describe it. I was told that this was one of the nicer batets, and I couldn't imagine that there could be worse than that, what we saw. But that despair was mine to see. To them, this was their everyday. What really pulls you back out of that despair is how welcoming the people are. The kids wave every time we go by in the bus. Everybody's, oh, American, American. They know that we are here to help, not to hurt, and that appreciation is great. I spent Monday through Thursday working on the construction team in Batey 50. We spent the entire week replacing a worn-out, tired chain-link fence with a concrete block wall in the back of the schoolyard. Heading out to the Batey on the first day, I had no idea what to expect. I decided to heed some good advice from my good friend Doug Davis on the morning bus ride that stuck with me the entire trip. Get out of your own way. That first day, I made an impression on one of the workers as he handed me his hammer and let me work with him. His name is Francisco. Even though I do not speak the language, we bonded well to where he trusted me to actually give me his tool and work right beside him, doing what he's responsible for doing. He handed me his hammer, and we worked side by side on the wall. As the week went on, I found myself enjoying the time I spent with all the workers, looking forward to arriving at the Batey, actually looking forward to getting there and being there. A true bond occurred as I left the Batey Thursday afternoon, and I truly felt that I had been a help, if only a sliver of what can be done. I gave my boots to Francisco at the end of the week, as this guy who's doing concrete work was wearing worn-out loafers. Friday, I spent the day with the medical team, and we visited Barraza. This experience was quite different from construction. What you see in a Batey on construction is nothing to seeing the masses of people, many of which have traveled many miles, lining up to receive medical attention for various issues, and many very serious. Not being a medical professional, I wasn't as prepared for the sight and found myself caught in a moment many times. Once again, I spoke those words to myself, get out of your own way, and focused on what I could do to be a help at the moment. I recorded vitals for patients as they came in, and sitting there in front of me, they so wanted me to help them and tell me what was wrong. And all I could say was, sorry, no doctor, and had to point him over. We ended the week with a day of relaxation and reflection, and I really looked at that as what that was. Saturday was reflection. It was a way to kind of pull ourselves back together, and as a group. I look back, I truly cherish the time I spent with the team. This is not a vacation by any means, but this group and the experiences were truly memorable. getting to know people I've never talked with before, building friendships, absorbing the Dominican culture, admiring the positive attitude and resolve of the amazing teams in this group. I didn't go to La Romana searching for something. I went believing I could help and make a difference, that what I have to contribute has value. I took on a belief early in that trip that you can't do it all, but you can do all that you can. Any help at all was truly appreciated by the people that we were there to do, so we were loved for doing so.